All right, let's get this party started. We're not peeking on the audio anymore. Okay, we're good. So, the specs were announced for the brand new Canon EOS R today. Canon's new mirrorless camera coming out. And it's coming out with 4 new lenses. It's going to be available starting in October 2018. Just the price of the body itself is going to be $2,299. Or you can get it with the bundle that it's going to be with, which will be the, I'll get into the lenses, but it'll be the new 24-105 lens bundle for $3,399. This is actually Canon's first full-frame mirrorless camera. They've made mirrorless cameras. They have, like, what is it, the M5, the M6, the M50 is the recent one. Because that one had 4K in it, but there was like no dual pixel autofocus, and it was APS-C, and the 4K was cropped in on that. So there's no in-body stabilization. Now with this, the new camera, they came out with a new RF mount, which is replacing their EF mount. It's 54 millimeters, so it's the same size as the EF mount. But because it's mirrorless, it doesn't have the mirror. It's going to be like a shorter flange distance of 20 millimeters. I think Sony's, they said, is 18. It's going to use 12 electrical contacts. It's supposed to be like the fastest communication between like the body and lens ever. Also with this, they're coming out with 3 new adapters, like, because you can use your EF and your EFS lenses with this, with the RF lenses. So one of them is going to be like a normal EF, EFS to RF, which just communicates between the lens and the body, and that's it. Also, there's going to be a drop-in filter mount adapter. This one seems really cool. I kind of actually really like the idea of this. Somewhat for photo, but like more video, where it has a thing where you can drop in like polarizers, and you drop in neutral density filters, variable neutral density filters. But with that drop-in filter, it's almost like their Cinema series, where they have, it's not technically a built-in ND filter, but it acts like it, because it has it, and then from what I've seen, it has like a little wheel. You can move it, so that seems cool. So the regular EF, EFS, RF mount is $100. The control ring mount adapter is going to be $200. And the drop-in filter mount adapter with the polarizer is going to be $300. And with the variable neutral density filter is going to be $400. I think that the drop-in filter one's not coming out till February of next year. But I have a feeling for like videographers, that one's going to be really good. It's going to have a 30.3 megapixel full-frame CMOS sensor, so it's almost exactly the same sensor as the 5D Mark IV. The ISO range is going to be 100 to 40,000. It's also going to be expandable from 50 to 102,400. It's going to have a Digic 8 image processor, which is the same one that the M50 has. So it's supposed to be able to help control noise and shadows if you have to use higher ISOs. There is going to be a low-pass filter. It's supposed to help with moire, supposedly, but it also, from what I understand, it like makes the image not as sharp as it could be. Now, they state that there's going to be 5,655 autofocus points using dual pixel AF, which seems insane. But the coverage of the sensor is supposed to be 100% vertically and 80% horizontally, so it covers a huge amount of the sensor. The dual pixel autofocus is supposed to work up to f11. There is eye auto tracking on top of the dual pixel autofocus. EV is supposed to be down to -6. From what I understand, it's supposed to be like really good in low light, but the -6 part is just if you use the new 50mm lens at f1.2 on like single point focus. Otherwise, I've heard others saying it's like down to -4.5, which still seems to be pretty good. They're saying that the autofocus system can achieve focus in as little as 0.05 seconds using the new 24-105 lens. It's supposed to be like the fastest autofocus out there. It does have silent shooting, but at the point of release, it's only going to be in single shot mode. But they are saying like a month afterwards, through like a firmware update, you'll be able to have silent shooting with continuous shooting. It's supposed to be dust and weather resistant and have a magnesium alloy body. I guess it's not proof, it's resistant, so it's not gonna replace like a 5D4 or like a 1DX Mark II with like the weatherproofing of it. On the top, there's going to be a liquid crystal display. It's going to show like your aperture, your shutter speed, ISO, and all the other stuff. Your EVF is going to be OLED. It's going to be 3.69 million dots. It's supposed to be 100% coverage and magnification of 0.71. You're going to have a 3.15 inch, 2.1 million dot varied angle touchscreen LCD monitor. There's like a new multifunction bar with no joystick. You can set this to like quickly access your things like autofocus, ISO, and white balance. The way it's set up, you can either like tap it or you can like slide across to access different things. It's supposed to be compatible with Canon's EX line of speed lights for the flash. Now getting into the video aspect of it, it's going to be able to shoot 4K up to 30 frames per second, but there is going to be a crop on it. It's going to be like 1.6, 1.7, close to like an APS-C Super 35 kind of crop. So there's no full frame 4K video. And they're saying that they did this since it's like a smaller body. They were wanting to reduce the heat so it doesn't overheat. And also with the crop, it's pretty much like a pixel-to-pixel readout of a 4K sensor. Instead of it taking like a 6K and downsampling to 4K, it's like a 1-to-1 4K. So if you're wanting to, you know, like they keep bringing up stereo, if you're like wanting to vlog while shooting 4K, you'd have to like get a wide angle lens. Like you'd have to get an adapter, then maybe get like an adapter, then maybe get something like the 10-to-18. With the 4K, it's going to be IPB or all-eye compression. It's not going to be the heavy like MJPEG like codec, which people like hate it on the 5D4, and it's also on the 1DX Mark II when you shoot 4K. It's like the heavy 500 megabit, like old codecs, what they call it. So it's going to be saved as MP4 files. I think they'll be like H.264 codec. 1080p up to 60 frames per second. I would have really liked 120 frames per second. But then again, the 5D4 only does 60 frames per second. But if you want 120 frames per second, you have to go down to 720, which at that point you may not even want to use it. Now this next thing surprised me. I wasn't expecting this. On the 5D4, they only had 1080 out through HDMI. You can do 4K out through HDMI to an external recorder. In fact, with an external recorder, you can get 10-bit 422 out, which I think is crazy. That I wasn't expecting that. That seems like really good. Internally, it's 8-bit 422, but you can get 10-bit 422 through an external recorder. It does still have a 30-minute record limit. It does come with C-Log. It does have a mic and headphone jack, which is good. Another thing people were harping on is a single SD card slot. I mean, it can take up to UHS 2. It uses the LPE6N batteries. It's saying about 560 shots per charge, which are these batteries, which are the same ones that are in the ADD and in like the 5D4. So it comes with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, NFC, NUSB-C, and HDMI. The camera can be charged through the USB-C. but you have to use Canon's included USB power adapter PDE1. So apparently you can't just use a USB-C cable and a power bank. You have to use their specifically designed one, which, it does come with the battery grip, and the battery grip does have buttons, unlike apparently Nikon just has a battery pack instead of a battery grip coming out with theirs. Shutter speed is 1/8,000th up to 30 seconds. It does have a built-in flash. Now it says shooting speeds are 8 frames per second unless you use autofocus, then it drops down to 5 frames per second, which this is not a sports camera. You can get 100 JPEGs, 47 RAW images, or 78 C RAW images. And C RAW is almost like their RAW light kind of Kodak. Well, what Canon said too, that this isn't replacing their DSLRs, it's just another line, another edition. When you take, when the body shuts off, you take the lens off, like the shutter will come down to protect the sensor, which seems cool. They're coming out with 4 new lenses for the RF mount. They have the RF 35mm f1.8 IS macro. It's going to be $499. They're going to have the RF 24 to 105mm f4L IS. That's going to be $1,099. They're going to have the RF 50mm f1.2L. That's going to be $2,299. And they're also going to have, this one's pretty interesting, RF 28 to 70mm f2L, and that one's going to be $2,999. With that one, because I was kind of wondering why they're doing 28 to 70 instead of 24 to 70. I'm guessing it has something to do with not being able to get it as fast. So they have 28 to 70, but they have it down. It's a zoom lens, but it's an f2 constant aperture. But it's also going to cost you $3,000. So it costs more than the body, which usually good glass costs as much, if not more than your body, because it's investment and all this stuff. Would you buy it? Do you hate it because it doesn't have full frame 4K in a single card slot? Are you saying go to Sony now, Sony all the way, Sony stocks just soared? I went through and read so many comments today. It just depends on what you're going to use it for and what you're looking for. If you want to, you can shit on it. I mean, Sony's don't have the 10-bit 422. Their autofocus is getting better, but it's not in dual pixel. They don't have a fully articulating touchscreen. The A7 III does have dual card slots. It does have full frame 4K, which I believe is 6K downsampled to 4K. It does have 120 frames per second at 1080p. Because that was one, from what I understand too, they've solved the overheating issue on that camera as well. Because that was a camera I was seriously considering, but I didn't buying that's $2,000 for the Sony A7 III. Then I have to invest money in all the glass and stuff. I'm kind of already in. I don't have any L lenses, so I'm not super duper invested in a Canon. But I like it. I like it. So tell me what you think. All right. Later. Peace. See ya. Bye. Drink coffee.